So I think we should be live streaming on Facebook now. So I am Indigo Dawn. For those who don't know me, I am a personal coach and also the lead organizer for New Culture Summer Camp East. And I am here with the lovely, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, I'm Hema, Hema Latha, and I'm a holistic empowerment mentor. Also excited to be here because I'm one of the presenters at Summer Camp East this year.
Yes. And so we're going to chat and explore a flow of connection around Hema's work in the world, how that relates to summer camp, and we'll see what arises around that. So my first thought would be to talk about what really lights you up, like what work in the world, purpose-driven work.
That's a great question. I think a lot of people focus on their purpose now after the whole Oprah thing, the whole find your purpose, right? And I was one of those people. I went through my self-exploration. But for me, it's always been super clear what lights me up. I'm here to help people. I live my life from a place of just pure service now. And what lights me up is when I'm able to help someone identify the things that are blocking them in their lives. So those things could include thought patterns, mental constructs, beliefs, energy, trauma, generational trauma, any one of those things, what might be blocking somebody from really living the life that they have imagined or from living a life of their full potential. And so that's what really turns me on, and I have done this now for many years. I use a combination of psychic insights that I get. I also do mediumship. So that's talking to spirits who have moved beyond. And I think of myself as kind of like a full service psychic shop where I do all the things and help people really move through to healing. And to do that, you need a variety of different things. Sometimes it's a psychic insight. Sometimes it's reprogramming a mental belief. Sometimes it very much is healing generational trauma. And I do that through, working with ancestors and channeling spirits and healing energy. So it's a whole variety of things, but that's the thing that really lights me up is when someone realizes, oh, this thing that hasn't been working out for me because of a pattern that I have from my childhood, or because a belief system that was instilled in me from a long time ago that I continue to perpetuate today. Those aha moments are the things that I live for. When the light bulb goes off and they're like, oh, this is not me. This is a pattern, and I can change my pattern, and a pattern that's more aligned with who I am on the inside so that I can be fully me. And then that's just so beautiful to me. That's really the thing. I really want people to live to their full capacity, and none of this, hiding ourselves, making ourselves small. Life's too short for that. So it's about really being fully who we are. And that includes sexuality. That's the other topic that really lights me up, is talking about sexuality, because it's such a maligned subject in our society today. And it's one of the most important things that we need to talk about and deal with, because it is the strongest force in our bodies, is sexual energy and sexual drive. So let's talk about that. Let's bring it out in the open and stop keeping it in the shadow. So yeah, those are the two things that really light me up.
I really resonate with what you said about helping people step into this empowered core self, and also including in their humanity and their power sexuality. And that is one thing that you are planning to bring to New Culture Summer Camp East.
Yes.
So I imagine you haven't planned that workshop out yet, but
I have a good idea.
Maybe you have.
I have a good idea. Yeah. I get super excited when I talk about energy and energetics because I'm actually an energy healer too. So remember I said like the full service shop, I do energy healing, the psychic insights, mediumship, etc.
Yeah.
But what excites me is when people start to have this felt sense of what energy, their human energy, their energetics feel like, and what you can do with that. And then when you take that a little step further, you can use it to heal yourself, but you can actually use that energy to heal others. So that's an interesting step. And then the next step to that is, how do you bring that kind of energy and energetics, that presence, that mindfulness, the feeling what the other person is feeling, how do you bring that into a sexual situation? Because that can make intimacy it can just take it to the next level of fulfillment, of pleasure. And so when you tie all those things together, there's this really nice mix of, being in touch with your energy. So that means knowing how things feel for you and being aware of your yeses and your nos, and then feeling what the other person is feeling without them necessarily saying anything. It's about being in tune. And then when you're in tune with each other like that, with your partner, like where can that go? And this applies to all kinds of partnerships, same-sex partnerships, hetero, any kind of, I'm talking about romantic relationship. It can also be used for friendships and business partnerships too, not the sexual part necessarily, but the tuning in and the energetics of it all. So that's what I'm excited to lead at Summer Camp East.
Mm. And that I'm hearing this way of connecting that is attuned to self and other. And that from that place, you bring in the sexual connection. And
Yeah.
something that helps me think of is how intimacy is way more than just parts rubbing together. It's like the biggest sex organ is really the brain, or there's also the skin.
Yes.
So I know that you're also a sex geek.
Mm-hmm.
So what comes up for you hearing me say that?
Oh, I love what you just said, and I love your energy behind it. Sex is more than just slot A and slot B.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about insertion or anything like that. Really, what sexuality is about connection, and it's about energetic connection. And so I'm also a neo-tantra teacher, and I help people move beyond their traditional definitions of sex and think outside of that definition, right? Just like you said, skin, touch and sensation can be sexual.
Mm-hmm.
Having interchange of ideas can be sexual. There's whole different ways of expressing sexuality, and I love having people really tap into that full expression of themselves. Like for example, I just found out, I don't know, a couple of years ago, that the term sapiosexual totally applies to me. I really, really get excited when I have like a very good intellectual exchange with somebody. That's great. And it doesn't, and I don't care whether the person is, male, female, non-binary, trans, I don't care. It's about what's in here and what's in your heart for me. And so when people start moving beyond those definitions and realize it's about really connecting with the soul of the person, and that our bodies are just outer constructs that we can move beyond, that's where the beauty starts to happen. And that's what can happen in sexual situations, is you start realizing that you're dealing with another spiritual being. And so it takes all of that concepts that we have around sex and sexuality, it just completely blows it up and puts it all back together, but in a way that's really beautiful. So yeah, it's fun stuff.
Mm-hmm. Something that came up for me around sapiosexual, and curious how you relate to this, is something I'm dismantling within myself, is conventional ideas about intellect and
Mm.
how it shows up. For example, like with word choice, like power language versus AAVE, or mannerisms, using big arm or hand motions versus like small collected, or even the timbre of the voice. And I bring this up too because I know that you do a lot of work with inclusion too.
Yes.
So curious to talk with you about how you relate to that.
Oh, I think that's such a great question. I'm going to address the second part of what you said first, which is, I teach a lot on diversity and inclusion. And in fact, I am in the process of doing a training for NFNC Summer Camp West designated educators. So actually the last of that series is happening today. And so that's been really interesting. And in part of that inclusion, we've talked about not only race, but gender, and have touched a little bit upon neurodivergence and neurodivergent folks. And so I think really for me, the meta concept around all of this is that we're all just people, we're all just souls, and we have different ways of expressing ourselves. So don't assume that someone is going to express themselves in a certain way. Don't make that assumption. And even if someone has a lower timbre of voice or less body language, don't make assumptions about what that person is trying to do or say or act like. Ask them, right? Like, be curious. I noticed that, I noticed that you have a kind of different body language than I do. Can you tell me what's going on for you right now? Is everything okay? Or just accepting people for how they are, and knowing that just because I am maybe, louder or have bigger hand language, that the other person is not going to do that. And that's okay. It's all okay. And, I think that sapiosexuality and intellectual connection doesn't necessarily have to do with how many books you've read, what are the words that you use. It's right. It's more about what is the thoughtfulness that you apply to a topic. Is there a different way of thinking about the topic that you could express or bring to the table? And what readings have you done? Like, what knowledge can you pull from other sources to formulate your ideas, to help you formulate your ideas? That's the kind of conversation I like to have. I don't need to be, quoted chapter and verse of a textbook, or it's not about that. It's about, what is your thought process around this topic? And do you see it from the same way that I do? Do you see it from a different vantage point? Like, what, that's the exciting part on all of this, and that people are entitled to have different opinions.
Yeah.
And different ways of expressing, right? I'm curious. I'm always curious. Can this person tickle a part of my brain, right, with something that they've said? Can they make me think about something that I haven't thought about before, or maybe something that I need to think more about? I think those are kind of really interesting conversations to have.
Yeah, I love that so much too. I love brain sex.
Yeah.
And something that also lights me up is not only synthesizing external sources, but people who can tap into their own sources of experience or wisdom, however that looks like to them.
Yeah.
I feel drawn in to that world.
Oh, that's awesome. I think you and I are going to have a great time at Summer Camp East. I can't wait.
Yeah.
This is going to be fun. Part of it is that people, humans, we're trained to other the other person, other them. And it's very tribal. It's very limbic brain. I mean, if you look at behavior of chimpanzees, for example, done a lot of reading on Goodall's work, and certain groups of chimps will actually seek out other groups of chimps to kill them off. And, we're very close in our genetics to chimps. And so it's like some of that is in us, to very tribalize, and this is my village and this is your village, and therefore you are bad and I am good. But we're beyond that now, right? And it's about being aware of those othering techniques or attitudes or behaviors, and moving beyond, because more and more so technology is connecting us, but more and more we're connected as people. And so this is where energy play actually comes into focus here, because energetically, if you're aligned, if you're grounded, I love the word that you used, if you're self-sourcing. So if you are filling yourself up in other ways, right? So you're feeling like a whole person, and this is all about energy and energetics, then you don't feel the need to other the other person. You intimately and innately realize that they're a soul just like you're a soul, and then in fact we're all connected, and it's through energy work that you can actually experience some of that. So it's really interesting, all that intersectionality, energy work, inclusion, sexuality. It's all really important stuff, and can come from people who are doing their work and are looking to be whole on the inside and bring that wholeness out into the world. So that's why I teach the things that I do, because I think it's important to bring things into wholeness.
Totally. Yeah, the wholeness that we already are.
Yeah, that we already are. And I study classical tantra and have studied Hinduism and Vedas for a while because that's my cultural heritage. But all religions say that we are all one, we're all connected, right? And that's the part that I like. The other intersection of is from a spirituality perspective, all of these things. We're just pointing out how interconnected we are, not separate. So yeah, I think it's exciting times for us as a society as we move more to embrace these concepts.
So I see a comment from Nat Smith. Hi, if you're still watching. I'm definitely wary of the term sapiosexual because I see it used in so many ableist contexts. And I love hearing your perspective on it. Sometimes the cultural associations can carry so much weight that its intended meaning can be really obscured. And I personally, yeah, that's part of what I was bringing up is the importance of dismantling the ableist conceptions of intellect and questioning what we've been given by dominant culture, by domination culture, about who's valuable, whose thoughts are worth listening to, or who is thoughtful, what does thoughtful mean, and how do we judge that? So I just want to validate Nat's concern.
Great question and great comment. And yeah, I understood, Indigo, with your question earlier, that is sort of what you were alluding to. And I agree that sapio has some loaded terminology associated with it. So I hope I tried to shed some light as to the way I see it, which is about different vantage points, right? It's not about what you've read. It's not about who you're quoting. It's about, well, okay, have you read some of those things, but yet formulated a vantage point that or a thought process that'd be interesting to share.
Totally.
And I think that's important. So it's not quoting, chapter and verse, like I said before, of textbooks or texts. No, it's take that and what else can you add to that that makes it interesting to discuss. So yeah, I'm very careful. I try to be careful with that because there's a lot of prejudgment, right? And sapio doesn't mean that you are a double PhD. You can be a sapio and have a high school education. It doesn't matter. It's not about education.
Totally.
Right? Or privilege. Yeah.
Totally. So I'm gonna start to bring us into land. So what are some of the things that you, or one or two of the things you're most excited for New Culture Summer Camp East? And I know you are heading to a lot of festivals, and I'm curious, like, why in that really busy schedule, busy summer, what were you yes to? What was awesome about East Coast Camp? Or what are you looking forward to?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So this year for me is the year of Network for New Culture. So went to an event in Hawaii and just went to one here in California where I live. And it just feels like I'm jumping in, both feet, and going to Summer Camp West also. Summer Camp East really appealed to me because of the people who are involved organizing, yourself and then Sarah Taub, who I really admire. And it was the thoughtfulness and the intention behind which you're creating Summer Camp East, a real intention around inclusivity, around being sensitive to appropriation, some of the steps that you've taken to, get rid of contentious terms, that are appropriated terms. I really, really appreciate that. To me, it showed not only an intention, but an activism and active actions that you're taking to make the space more inclusive, and that's what attracted me. I was really impressed with conversations that I've had with different individuals from NFNC East, and it's a bit of travel for me, but I want to do it because I want to meet the people. You're actually doing the work that needs to be done, and not just paying lip service to it, and that's what I want to see. And then, of course, I found out that you are going to have Aaron there from Holistic Resistance, who I know well and have been to many of his things and saw your video with him. And that was just more indication to me that, yeah, the Summer Camp East people are really taking this seriously and taking the overall edicts of NFNC very much to heart, and then putting them into practice. So that's the real reason why I'm going. I can't wait to meet people there. I can't wait to be there.
Oh, that feels so good to hear. I'm taking that in, and there's a way I feel seen. That integrity is something that is so important to me in every aspect of my life. I mean, I'm also a mammal, I'm an organism. So integrity also in not being a perfectionist, but integrity with truly working to design spaces that work for all beings is what I want. And so what a gift to have you co-creating in that this
Thank
year.
you. I feel honored. I mean, it's not, thank you for saying that, but I'm the one who feels honored to be going out there and participating and sharing my gift, but also receiving gifts from others. Yeah, I'm really excited about NFNCs for sure.
Yay!
Yay!
Okay. So
Thank you, Indigo.
yeah, thank you for this time, this piece of connection. And I'm also really excited to meet you, have our flesh suits in the same
Yes.
space, holding
Yes.
our essences, and to sense each other and see what arises
Can't
from.
wait.
I can't wait either.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. I look forward to it. Thank you, Indigo. Love your energy.
Okay, let me stop the live stream.